Hello, everybody. Welcome back to MUFC Spotlight. It's a new season. Football is back. We are back. I am joined, of course, by my wonderful co-host, Rebel. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing very good now that football's back. It was a long summer, but thankfully we did have some sport going on to keep us occupied. But it's great to be back in the cut and thrust of matters. And dare I say it, Manchester United operating like a football club.
It seems that way, doesn't it, at the minute? I mean, we're getting deals done. We're bringing players in. One of our players obviously played at the weekend, and he looks solid playing in that right back position. I just want to get your thoughts very quickly on that game as well. The 1-0 win against Fulham.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, we opened the Premier League season on Friday night, which was a nice way to kick off a return to football. Was it without its teething problems? Obviously not. Marcus Rashford did have his struggles, but let's talk about the new guys. Our right back, Mazawari, Delish, Xerxes. Like, you can't fault any of their performances, really. Obviously, we're missing the young man that we saw up in the stands after he succumbed to injury, apparently. And this is something that I'm looking forward to discussing with you. We knew about him having a weakness before we pushed him out into some of those pre-season games. So I will be curious as to what you think of the decision to actually risk him if we knew about an existing issue instead of trying to resolve it before playing. But let's talk about Mazarawi. Like, we've kind of always been fans of Spider-Man in his defensive tackles and all the stuff that he'd done defensively. But we always felt that he lacked that bit when we tried to push forward or when we tried to engage in more offensive procedures. And again, subject to keeping him fit, it looks like we found a guy that could be the answer to a fit Luke Shaw if he becomes available, and then that would give us three very good quality attacking wing backs. As for the centre back position, I don't know about you, but I was a bit worried when we had to push Martinez out as cover to wing back, and that meant that Johnny Evans had to come into the game. The other one then obviously is Maguire, Delate, and Martinez being our only three kind of main centre backs, with Evans then kind of doing a as you need it duty. If Martinez is expected to cover wing back, because from what I've heard, Malacia has serious injury concerns over him yet again this season. Luke Shaw, at this point in his career, is made of glass, so you have to accept that he's going to be missing for at least a chunk of games, which means that we are very thin on the ground. Now, Colm, you heard as well, I suppose, as I did, that we're not going to sign left back. So, how comfortable are you with that defensive rotation?
I mean, I'm not comfortable at all. You know, I want our defensive partnership. I mean, definitely the centre backs at the minute. You gotta want to have Dilic and Martinez at the moment. Obviously, Yoro's out injured, so he's not a choice at all at the minute. I don't like playing Martinez out on that left. I mean, we saw him get absolutely smoked by Adama Traore the first time. I mean, he learnt his lesson the second time and waited, but it definitely makes me feel a bit uneasy that we have no natural left back available at the moment. Now, I know we have been offered Chilwell from Chelsea. They have offered us his services, but at the end of the day, let's be honest, he's going to be on the injury table next to Luke Shaw. Neither one of them can stay fit. So for me, it's a massive concern. But I'm going to, spin it on the other side as well. And this is probably one of the only times you're ever going to hear me say this. If Harry Maguire keeps up the performances like he did against Fulham this season, I won't be too worried about the centre-back partnership. And if we have to push Martinez out onto the left side, then, Martinez can do a job there. But I'd rather he didn't. I'd rather he stay in the centre mid, alongside either, Yoro when he's back or Dillit. I don't know what your thoughts are.
Yeah, like I suppose, as you said, if Harry Maguire kind of focuses on his game and kind of plays to the level that he had been toward the end of last season, he will be a serviceable centre back. But I suppose the concern for me is we don't know how long Euro is going to be actually out for, because we're seeing reports, some that he's going to be back in the end of October, some is January. So what is the actual truth of the matter? Who knows? And where I would have difficulty with it is not so much that it's Maguire doing the covering, it's that if we have forced a Martinez out to the wing back position, and if anything happens then to either De Ligt or Maguire, our only cover at that point then would be Johnny Evans.
See, we're actually thinking here. I think we're doing a bit of discredit to somebody here, because we're going on about Martinez covering this position or somebody else covering it. I think we are discrediting a very, very good potential prospect in our team, and that's Amas. Amas got lots of potential. Yes, it would be very, very hard. And I don't expect him, if he comes in, I don't expect him to do a Kobe Mainu, fit into the team straight away and play blinders week in, week out. But I feel like he could be our solution this season for that position.
So are you saying expose him to League Cup game, expose him to FA Cup games on a Sunday after playing in Europa League, that sort of thing?
Yeah, I think what we need to do is, and he needs to get game time this season, 100%. Either way, he needs to get game time this season. I think, try him out in the Carabao Cup, because he's coming up against tough teams, even if they are Championship, League One, League Two. They are tough games. I know everyone's like, it's lower leagues, it doesn't really matter. But these teams want to beat Manchester United, For instance, a Rotherham United will go gung-ho against Manchester United, and I think that'll help him develop. If we get a Premiership team in the FA Cup, play him in that, get him used to playing against the better players. If we're playing, I wouldn't say let's play him against Arsenal, City, Spurs, Liverpool. I think that's a massive jump. But if we're playing, a Leicester, a Ipswich, somebody like that, no disrespect to them, but I think he'd be able to manage that a lot better. And then he's getting game time and experience in playing at the top level against the top level players, rather than just throwing him straight in anyway.
Very true. And I suppose before we go into a bit of the game, because there's one other question I have for you after that game, and I'm sure you have a couple for me as well, deep down in the recesses of your brain. But we started that game without a recognised striker leading the line. We obviously played a sort of a false nine type effort. But obviously, the goal scorer, Zirkzee, did come on in second half. But I want to cast you back not to the event of that goal, but to something that he said in advance of actually taking the field for Manchester United Football Club, in that he isn't an out-and-out striker. He prefers to play behind the striker. So if you're taking that into account, you've got him, Mount, and Fernandes basically vying for that position right behind our singular striker, which is Rasmus Højlund, who's not available to us at the moment. So, again, I suppose, not trying to discredit any players that we have available, but we don't have a lot of naturally positioned central forwards in the squad, and that's something that could bite us in the ass.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from that. But I mean, see, I separate Zirkzee from Bruno and Mount. Bruno Fernandes is a central attacking midfielder. That's what he is. Zirkzee is a shadow striker. He plays just behind your striker. So technically, he's a forward. He's a striker, but he just plays just behind. If I can remember correctly, I'm sure he plays the role that Andy Cole played for Dwight York. They were just slightly behind the striker. Or it might have been the other way around. Yorkie might have played it for Cole. I can't remember. I was very young when that happened. But it worked. And I don't see why it wouldn't work with Zirkzee and Højlund. And as for Mason Mount, I mean, he might as well kiss his United career goodbye. He doesn't get in over Bruno. I wouldn't put him in over Xerxes, to be fair. And he's not going out onto either wing because, let's face it, Rashford's still here and nobody has got as much power as Marcus Rashford. And, on the other side, we've got Garnacho, Diallo, Anthony, and he's not going to cover that side either. So I think he's going to be a bench warmer. I really do. It's a difficult one because, like you said, and you've just said it, he doesn't consider himself as a striker. But I did the watch along for that game, and I first thought it was McTominay who scored. Then I thought he came off the defender, and I was like, oh no, Xerxes actually got his foot onto it. That's how good of a finish it actually was. 'Cause you had to watch it 3 times to realize what the hell actually happened. And I think for the meantime, it's going to have to be our focal point.
Now, here's the interesting part. And there's a pile of comments, so I presume you'll want to get to them in a second as well. When Rasmus is fit, and we'll say he's the point of the attack, for argument's sake, maybe Ten Hag will want to play both of them. So obviously, if you've got Rasmus and then slightly behind him Xerxes doing kind of the overlapping runs and all the other good stuff that he does, that means then we have to take a player from somewhere else. If you take it from either wing, that creates an imbalance. If you go into the midfield, then you're removing one of Casemiro, Mainu, and Bruno, which is asking for trouble. Like, if we get a Grassy, that's a different story. But if you're removing one of those positions, a 2-man midfield, I don't think would be a good idea for Manchester United. No. So, could you see us going a bit more narrower at the top with more expectation then from your 2 wing backs to provide width?
Yeah, I mean, I can see us transitioning to 3 at the back. That's what I can see happening. Us transitioning to 3 at the back. Obviously, you're going to have Rasmus and Xerxes playing their roles up top. Then you still got your Kobe Mainu and your Casemiro, for instance, because that's how it is at the moment. There's your double pivot. So what's that? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then it's going to be probably Bruno, because Bruno's the captain. So that's 8. So that leaves us with 2
centre backs or 2 yeah. No, sorry,
we've got 2 more. So see, this is where it gets difficult because is he going to play a Rashford and a Garnacho as wingers, or is he going to play them as roaming fullbacks as such? So they're getting forward, but they've got to come back and defend. But then again, why would he do that when we just bought this lad Mazraoui, who's a right back? It's difficult. It's very, very difficult. Or is he going to get rid of the wingers completely and rely on the wing backs to do the job?
Now, could he end up trying to convert Garnacho into something like Xerxes where he plays behind the striker? I don't think that would work for him because a lot of his football is from cutting in. Now, unless we turn Garnacho into a cover at wing back, but has he ever done the defensive duty side of it then? And would he understand that side of the game in the way that our new signing, for example, would? So it kind of leaves you questioning. If you narrow up top and you go to this 2 kind of forward position, your striker, straddle striker, it kind of leaves you wondering what exactly do you do with the rest of the positions, and what do you take away, in order? Do you go to a position where Bruno's out on the right again, which I don't think either of us liked last season?
No, I hated that last season. But I'm just kind of like playing the scenarios through my head. So maybe he does go a back 5 with obviously right wing back and left wing back. So you got your central, your middle 3, which obviously stays and defends. Your right wing back and your left wing back are going to push forward, as they would do anyway. Maybe he does then Mainu, Bruno. So Bruno's in that double pivot because Bruno drops back deep a lot anyway. you know,
Right.
and he's got a tank in him anyway. So they're them two, and then he's got obviously Hoyland up top, Xerxes playing behind, and then that still gives you your wingers.
Mm. I'm going to throw the spanner into your works.
Oh,
We
don't do
turn
it.
around before the end of the transfer window, and we signed the Uruguayan destroyer, Ugrati, who plays in the 6th role.
Well, if that's the case, then I don't know. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what he does because, I mean, you need a PhD to figure out what Ten Hag is going to be doing. To be fair, I do see that comment. I'm just going to say hello to a couple of people. We will get to that comment in a second, Dermo. So bear with us 1 second. I just want to say big up to Chris. He says, "Big up, lads. Hope you are well." Fantastic.
Howdy.
Thank you. Tequila saying, "Big up my two United mates, the cornerstone of our EAFC 24 Pro Clubs team, undefeated for many, many games." Yeah, because we haven't played in ages. That's the reason why we're undefeated, because we haven't played. Chris is saying Mazraoui was man of the match for me in that game. I think I actually gave my man of the match to Maguire, which is a shock. 'Cause I wanted him gone last year. I mean, I still want him gone, but you know. Chris is also saying, bring a striker on, you win the game. Imagine my shock, right? Well, I said this as well. No, you can keep Reggie. We don't want Reggie on loan. Thank you very much. At all. Big up to Dermo. Go after Sessegnon from Fulham. No. I think there's better people out there, to be fair. Chris is saying United deserve to win as we had chances. I mean, yeah, we'll get into that because I want to ask Rebel about that. We'll get into that. Rashford should be dropped. Don't know why he's in over Garnacho. Power. That's why he's in over Garnacho, because he's got too much power. Mason Mount, perfect definition of we don't know what he is. He is. And the question from Dermo, question to us both. Ten Hag won 2 cups in 2 seasons. Do you think Ten Hag is here for the long term or not? I'll let you start with this one, Rebel.
Now, and mea culpa to my Tottenham friends. I am in a group chat with them, and this is not as seen to be seen as offensive authority, but when you think about Ten Hag the last 2 seasons, to do the equivalent in Tottenham terms, you're going back to 1993. So I suppose whether or not Ten Hag is ultimately the right man, he's delivered more cups than a seemingly endless amount of managers that have come through at Tottenham and other clubs. So you have to say the man knows how to win silverware. That being said, Ten Hag, I think it would be very easy for the club to get rid of him. I think most of us at this stage would speculate that the only reason he's gone now is because nobody that they really wanted was available. So it was either bring in somebody like Gareth Southgate. Oh, Colin's going to come in now in a second, but or play the waiting game.
Ten Hag's replacement is sat right next to him, smiling.
Mr. Rudd.
Mr. Ruud van Nistelrooy. Do you, honestly, I'll answer the question in a minute, but just a quick question to you. Do you honestly think Ruud van Nistelrooy has left his job as a manager to come and be an assistant manager for another person?
Actually, technically speaking, we have 2 people that left managerial jobs to become assistant
you know
managers.
what I mean. You know what I mean. But Ruud van Nistelrooy, who was actually doing quite well.
That would be an interesting one, actually, seeing Ruud leave.
I've had it from our very valuable source that is why he's there. In case shit goes to the fan. We're 19 minutes in. I can swear now. 10-minute watershed's gone. If shit goes to the fan, Ruud is there to take his place. That is what I've been told anyway. And to answer your question, Dermo, I can't say he is here for long term because I don't think any manager is brought in long term because nobody knows what's going to happen. I mean, the vision probably is long term, but you know, football's performance based. We know this. You know, we could go on a massive run now, where we don't get beat for 15 games, but then lose the next, 20, and he'll be gone. We just don't know, unfortunately. And also, I just want to point out to the Tottenham fans as well, we buy strikers that score on debuts, and they don't need Premier League experience. Because I'm only saying that because all I've had in the group chat before that game, the Spurs game, was Solanke's going to score a hat-trick tonight. Oh, Solanke's going to do this. And he did nothing. So, yeah.
Actually, just briefly talking about that point from Dermot, I suppose what I want us to avoid is I'm looking at another London club that play in blue, and they're an absolute basket case at the moment. 51-odd players on their books. They change managers more than they change their underwear over there. If you're in a situation where you're hiring Dermot today, call him next Tuesday, Rebel next Friday, you're not going to get anything done. There's going to be disruption constantly. And when I look at Chelsea, I see the ultimate example of dysfunction right now. And it kind of reminds me of what we had with the Glazers running the show, but on steroids.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to speak about Chelsea as much because I really don't give a flying toss what Chelsea do. They can stay in the slums for all I care. All I'm saying is, well done, Todd Bowley. Absolutely fantastic, because all you're doing is making sure Chelsea aren't getting anywhere. You're playing Football Manager with the editor on and just literally going on and buying every single person you can do. And it's not going to work. So thank you very much for that. You've successfully ruled your club out of any kind of competition anywhere else. Tequila saying, don't worry, lads. Ange will be free for the job in a few months. Trust me. I mean, possibly. And he says, sorry, not. I know the rest. Yes, sorry, not sorry. He's having a go at me because he never said that about Solanke. Dermo also as well. He's turning Dermo to the dark side, and Bowley is amazing. Keep it up. Okay, so you've posed to me a couple of questions. I'm going to pose one to you.
Fire away.
So, obviously, it's in regards to the game the other day. We've all watched it and everything. We all cried and shouted, and some people probably punched TV screens. I nearly did twice. Bruno Fernandes. Now, sometimes we have this problem with Bruno that is very petulant in the game. His attitude seemed to have changed slightly, but then he reverted back. And when in the first half, especially, I think his attitude was so much better than what it has been last season. He got through on goal. Granted, he probably should have put away every chance he had. But when we brought on the striker, we started seeing the Hollywood balls again. What in your mind, or what is your opinion on this? Like, why is Bruno doing these Hollywood passes when we can clearly see for 45 minutes of the game, he doesn't need to do that and chances are getting created?
I have to wonder at times what actually is going on with it. Like, whatever about the nonsense that goes on with him mouthing at refs and all the rest of it, that aside, Bruno Fernandes used to be a clinical player in front of goal. If you remember when he arrived at Manchester United Football Club, he was banging in the goals. Mm-hmm. Now, on another channel back then, I expressed my concern that we were absolutely flaying the legs out of the man because we were thrown into every easy-beasy little game. Some games he didn't need to be there at all, and we were burning him into the ground. And over the next couple of seasons, we made transfers which kind of took him out of the position of being one of the chief threats attacking the goal, because we had Cristiano Ronaldo and a few others that kind of took over the ball. Like Rashford there, one season scored 20-odd goals before disappearing after getting his contract. But I'm wondering, has he lost some of that in front of goal sharpness? But even that aside, that can come back to a player. You raise a very important issue. If you're there's a time and place for spraying the Hollywood football. If you're well in control of the game, if there's a lot of space and you're not really in danger of causing any negative by losing the ball from trying the Hollywood football. That's grand. But a teacher of mine used to say when he took us out into the training pitch for playing Gaelic football, keep it simple, stupid. You do not need to overcomplicate it. If you can put a direct, simple pass forward to unleash the next player in the chain, you do that. And what they always used to say as well is when you release the ball, you should be thinking of literally moving the ball on, because the ball's going to travel faster than any amount of sprinting that you're ever going to do. So if you can put a simple through ball in that will allow, say, Colm to get through one-on-one with the keeper, that's what you do. You don't try to do a back heel dink over the noggin of the defender and then try and do a spin-a-rooney to get the ball on the other side. You play the simple stuff. So I think what we need really with Bruno is we need to, why the minute you have a striker do you need to play these stupid balls? You didn't play those stupid balls when you had no striker in front of you. If you work the ball forward the same way as you did with the striker in front of you, that will work just fine. You don't need to be doing these stupid footballs. And
see, this is the frustrating thing with me. I mean, we're slowly starting to see, and I think we can agree, we are slowly starting to see. We saw it in pre-season, and we saw it in spatters. I wouldn't say the whole game. We saw it in spatters against Fulham of Ten Hag football, the nice intricate passes that was being played, and we passed through them several times, quite a few times. But that again was in the first half of the game when we had no striker. And as I said, when we've brought the striker on, Bruno didn't seem to be wanting to play that anymore. He was looking for that over the top, get on the end of it, whack it into the top corner. Obviously, the goal actually came from a very, very nice passage of play that Casemiro started, I believe it was. Or it might have been Scott McTominay. I can't remember who it was. It was one of them. But again, that was Ten Hag ball, that got us there. And I don't think Bruno was involved all that much in that. Because I think he was, I don't know. It's a concern for me that he seems like he has to revert back to that when we have a striker.
And even if you think about the goal itself, Xerxes was actually in the build-up to that movement and on the finish of it. So you saw what kind of a simple give and go, essentially, what happened there. Now, it wasn't a goal per se, in that it was more of a whipped cross that he stuck a foot at and directed into the goal. But you could see the links in play, and there was kind of like, okay, I know exactly where you're going to be. If you get a foot on this, chances are you're going to at least work the keeper.
Yeah. I mean, that nicely takes me on to the other question I was going to ask you, to be fair. Why? It sounds like I'm being so negative. I'm not. I'm just trying to understand and get, it's one game in, we've won. It's fantastic that we've done that. But I'm trying to understand why we've not been doing this last season. Last season, Rasmus Højlund went through a purple patch where everything he pretty much touched went in the back of the net, especially in the Champions League. But it got to a point where there was literally no service for the guy. We've all heard of it, graveyard shift. Man United strikers get a graveyard shift. Why have we not been whipping these balls into the box when Haaland's there? And we all know how dangerous he actually is in aerial battles and everything like that. I mean, I think he was 53rd, ranked 53rd with strikers in regards to shots. 53rd, because there was no service. So why are we getting the service now for Xerxes, but we're not getting it for Rasmus?
Well, I suppose, can we even say that we're getting the service for Xerxes? We've only got one game in isolation. We'll have to kind of monitor that over the next 2-3 games of football. But looking at last season, when you think about it, we had Aaron Wan-Bissaka, who really couldn't cross. We have Rashford, who can't really cross to any great kind of level of delivery. The fidget spinner wasn't known for his crossing. Garnacho is more of an inside striker and cuts in and is more likely to do a given goal than a cross. So I think when you look at the nature of the players that are on those wide positions that would be I suppose, whipping those balls in. They're not those kind of players. They're more, they cut in, they try and do a dinky pass where I give it to you, you give it back to me on an overlap. So I think that's why Hoyland wasn't getting those aerial balls. And when I look at the team, that's in one way why I'd hope that Shaw can get fit, because between Shaw, Dallow, and our new wing back, they look like they can get those crosses in. So we need those players fit. Or if not, we're probably not going to see an aerial kind of option. I still think, though, we need to kind of diversify and have those wingers cutting in to create and just keep your defense or your opposition defense guessing. So I think why we didn't get it was because the players that were in the wide positions weren't capable of delivering those balls.
That's fair enough. It is fair enough. There's a lot of chat going off at the minute. Dermo and Tequila are talking about Spurs and FA Cup and everything like that. So I'm not bringing that up. I don't think you're going to get an FA Cup.
Tequila can bugger off. I'm not doing the Spinner-Rooney. I killed myself.
What's this here? You look at Man United season. You win game and we waste chances. I mean, yeah, I'd be concerned if I was Spurs, to be fair. It hasn't been infested. Do you think we'll get Ngate in? I think so. I think we'll get Ngate.
Well, it looks like he's already been excluded from affairs in Paris Saint-Germain. And at this stage, I think Paris are kind of going, okay, United aren't budging. We'll do the loan deal. We'll accept the 50 million euros and we'll get out of there. That means they've lost 10 million euros in this transaction, but it looks like he's quite content to sit and wait because he's told Liverpool to PFO when they came calling. So it looks like he's only interested in us. And we know what Mendes is like when he sniffs a deal because he wants that commission. He is probably working overtime now to get Ugarte to United prior to the Liverpool game.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, this is a comment as well. Casemiro looks proper fit this season, if that's what you're into, Chris. Casemiro is an interesting one because 1 minute it can be like this absolute stonewall monster, and then the next minute he does something ridiculous. Like in the Fulham game, I think he put in this absolutely amazing tackle where he actually chased somebody, got the ball, managed to get back up, turned around, and then couldn't play a 5-yard pass and lost it. I don't know whether it's just age or whether it's fitness or rustiness. I don't know what it is, but I think Casemiro probably loses his spot if Ugarte comes in.
And actually, here's the kind of question that's been recessing in my mind, and it's something that concerns me. When we get hit in the counter, now, luckily for us, Adama Traore has no end product, which meant that they couldn't really capitalize on his powerful runs. And in the end, Martinez did get to grips with him. But we seem to still shit the bed when a team breaks on us. And we don't seem very assured that everyone is in their positions, that everyone is marking or the space or the person that they should be marking. And while we didn't concede 20 shots, thankfully, against Fulham, we did still concede quite a substantive amount of attacking chances. And if you had a Haaland, a Salah, or one of those players on the end of those, you might have been asking our goalkeeper to pull our arses out of the fire a lot more than he had to do against Fulham.
Yeah, no, I understand where you're getting from, and it sounds like I'm doing it on purpose. I'm really, well, I am, but I'm not at the same time because I'm just continuing from last season. Fulham had a game plan, and that was to attack where Martinez was, because obviously he wasn't playing in his right position, to be fair. He got pushed out to that side. And not only that, he had a Marcus Rashford who didn't track back at all. The amount of times I saw Fulham breaking with Adama Traore, and I'm like, Rashford, chase him. You're about as quick as him. Chase him, and he's jogging or walking. It pisses me off so much. You want all the accolation and everything for going forward and putting a ball in the box or scoring a goal. Do your fucking job defensively first. You know, you've got a guy there that's trying his freaking hardest to deal with a person who's rapid, very, very muscular. You know, he'll push people off the ball for fun. He looks like he eats bloody boulders for breakfast. And the guy who he's going against is out of position. Come back and help. And he doesn't. And it really frustrates me. And I think if, like you've just said, if when we play Liverpool, if we're in this position and Martinez is going out onto that left-hand side again, and he's going against Mohamed Salah, we're screwed. I will say it now, we're screwed. Because Rashford needs to get back. He needs to help. And I just don't see the effort from him at all.
You know, he's a positional liability. Like, at least, you know, Garnacho, when he was out in the wing, he used to see him tracking back and making some sort of an effort. Even Anthony, in his limited capacity, he does move backwards and at least creates a obstacle for those attacking players to get past, which slows them down maybe sufficiently for the rest of the defense to find their position. But for me, and hello to Saskia Gunnar, is that Moss?
I think it is Moss. I think it is, mate. Big up. Scat, Saskia Gunnar. I hope you are doing well. TMUAFTSN. So it's not full-time Spuds Network anymore. It wasn't full-time Spuds Network anyway. They just do a lot more shows than what we do. And this is MUFC Spotlight, mate. It's not TMUA either. Just to let you know. Sorry, Rebel.
But when you look at Marcus Rashford, I think he's not able to play centrally to sufficient capability. And the back of the United team can't really support someone that will not do any bit of tracking back. So you're kind of wondering, okay, we're paying this guy to be I think he's our third highest paid player in all of the squad at the moment. And he doesn't fit the system and causes weaknesses in the system. So you're kind of going, okay, do we need to discount him? And if we do, that means then, if you're also discounting Anthony, our only white players are Ahmad and Garnacho.
Yeah. I mean, I want to give a little special mention to obviously Ahmad. Tough game for Ahmad, but you know, it looks like he's got the fight there, and he's looking like, you know, he's seriously somebody that might push Garnacho for that position on the right-hand side. I mean, I like Garnacho on the right. I prefer him on the left, but I like him on the right-hand side. What were your thoughts? Because obviously we've been, well, I know I have. I don't know whether you have. I've been screaming for Ahmad to get game time, you know, this year, and it seems like my actual prayers are finally being answered, and we're starting to see him progress in. What are your thoughts on his performance?
Well, I'm looking at the changes in our squad, and obviously Palestrino has been sold as of today. He's gone to Panathinaikos or some one of those places, and we've got obviously Anthony, Ahmed, Garnacho, and Rashford as the wingers that are currently at Manchester United Football Club. I think it's important that we take a good look at him this year and make a decision then by the end of the season whether he's a useful squad player, he's a starter, or whether it's time to kind of say, okay, it doesn't quite work out for you here. I suppose what we are looking for him is to be able to deal with the physicality of the Premier League, make sure that he's not pushed off the ball. We need him to be kind of, I suppose, doing that track back, and he doesn't have to put in a tackle, but if he occupies space that disrupts the movement of the other team, then that will be the job that we need from that winger. And of course, we need him to be able to deliver a ball into those centrally, or try and beat a man, depending on what is called for in any particular attacking sequence. You know, it might not be that there's a cross on, but if you can beat your man, maybe the cross then will present itself, or maybe you take a shot. But Ahmed, I suppose, has been around now, 3 seasons? He's gone on loan up to Rangers, he's gone on loan in championship teams. And I suppose at this stage, it's kind of like, if you can't force your way into the team now, especially with the changes in the squad, then you're probably never going to make it at Manchester United Football Club. So I think it's important now he gets his game time. I thought he was decent in the game against Fulham, but what we need now is progression and him to be, I suppose, more influential and the times that he's on the ball in the future games. So we look at him now because we're not going to be getting anybody in for those wide positions between now and in the transfer window. We're not going to be probably buying anyone in January for those positions. So he's got the full season to basically say, this is why you don't need Anthony. This is why you don't need Marcus. Or maybe this is why you don't need any of the three of us, because we're not able to do it. But Ahmad is the only one that hasn't been properly looked at out of all those players I mentioned.
Yeah. Just a few comments here. Tequila is saying Agate is a great player. I'm so jelly belly. It ain't true. Nice. Question. I will let you answer this, Rebel. With obviously Van Nistelrooy being brought in, has he been given? Do you think he's been given any assurances that he'll be the next manager, or has he come in to help Ten Hag take United to the next level? It's quite an interesting question, to be fair.
Well, when you look at the mission statement that Ineos put out, that we're not going to be making transfers for the manager of the day, that we're building a structure, and that we expect our head coaches now, as they're known, because I think the managerial side has been removed with the directors of football and all this. And that's probably a conversation I want to have with you maybe next week, is about our directors of football getting off lightly in terms of their transfer business and the scrutinizing of their transfer business. But I'll keep that for next week. I think Ruud van Nistelrooy is very much aware of the pressure that Erik ten Hag is on. I think he's going in there because Manchester United Football Club is a huge club. It still is, despite us underperforming on the football field. And if Erik ten Hag was to fall on his sword, there is opportunity for caretaker manager or caretaker coach. I don't think Ineos would be silly enough to just hand the reins to him without giving him the trial run if they sack Erik mid-season. But I don't think he's been told, you're definitely going to be next manager, because if you were to bring that ethos into it's kind of like a poison knife, because Ruud is kind of going, well, if we slightly undercook until November, December, the pressure comes down on Erik gets shifted, and then I can kind of crank the boys up. I think that'd be counterproductive, because Ineos, Manchester United, the coaching staff, they'll all want results kind of tipping away. So I'm sure he's aware that there's an opportunity should things go awry for Ruud, or for Erik, but I don't think he's been told, look, your plan B, because you're just basically putting in a poison pen culture there. Because straight away, if you're the heir apparent, you're going to try and topple the king, aren't you?
Yeah. My thoughts exactly. Demo's saying here as well, to be honest, guys, you look at United, they're a team who are organised and know how to play the manager's system. We have players who play one half, then go quiet. It's important to have the right team around you. I mean, we are definitely building. I mean, people are calling us the Ajax of the Premier League now, because we seem to be getting loads of Ajax players, ex-Ajax players, which I kind of get. I understand. But, a lot of these players have already played in a Ten Hag system. They've played Ten Hag ball. They know what it is. So I'm not fully against him bringing in these ex-Ajax players, as long as they are good enough to take us to this next level. I think Anthony, when Anthony first came, Rebel, I was a big fan because I've seen him play in Ajax. I saw what he did, but he wasn't quite good enough to take it to the Premier League. It's a harder league. So I'm hoping, that who we're going to get in now will be a little bit better. I hope the likes of Dillit will have an absolute wonder season for us and stuff like that. So
you know that about the lit though, don't you?
I don't.
No, but I'm just saying that's the sort of ridiculous archives that the media now are dragging out because it sells their paper. But you mentioned Ten Hag ball, and this is the follow-up that I really wanted to get at. When you look at modern football, your Klopp ball, your Pep ball, your Ten Hag ball, all these more kind of heavy metal football, kind of go, up, down pitch. Is there really only subtle differences between if you brought Klopp in tomorrow and told him, right, you've got this crop of players? I'd imagine in the training camp that what they'd be asked to do would be the instructions they'd be asked to do, whether they could do them or not now, would be very subtle in their difference. That it'd be, okay, instead of going straight and going 95 degrees, or there's very subtle changes but the broad kind of framework of the football would be the same. So
yeah,
I think what we're looking at is we're looking at players that can play that kind of football, and that no matter who the ringmaster is, that they'll be able to kind of adapt to the subtle differences that ringmaster prefers.
Yeah, I understand what you're getting there, 100%. I think if we brought a Klopp in, we wouldn't see much difference. If we brought a Pep Guardiola in, we'd see a massive difference because we'd fall asleep 15 minutes into the game, then wake up at the full-time whistle because, my God, Manchester City are boring to watch. I nearly fell asleep in the game that they played against Chelsea because it was that dull to watch. Obviously, Saskia Guna is saying, Rash, I agree, so good, needs to be back and going. Mate, if Rashford gets going this season, we will be a proper force to be reckoned with, because as much as I slate him, when he's on form, he's on form. But he's asking what will happen with Sancho. Now, the latest I have, and it's everywhere, people are saying it, is he's trying to push the move to PSG. That's where he wants to go. If that's where you want to go, Sancho, sod off. See you later. Enjoy. I don't care. I don't know what your opinion is, Rebel, but
actually, I just realized when we were talking about the wide positions, I didn't even mention the men one.
I didn't mention Sancho at all.
Like I kind of discounted him from our squad in a way. Like I was kind of going, okay, you made your piece, and I was like, that's PR, whatever. But it kind of telling, though, that a player that's supposed to be in his prime, that had an okay season for Dortmund, that Dortmund weren't willing to come in for him. Teams that played against him in the Bundesliga weren't willing to take an opportunity on him. And Ajax, who play maybe 10 tough games a season in terms of the quality of their opposition, most of it being in Europe, even they're not totally convinced that throwing 35, 40 million pounds at this player is a good investment, when you'd be saying, surely he'd be torching most of the opposition in the French league.
Yeah, well, honestly, I don't care. I don't care what happens with Sancho. I prefer him to go, and this answers a question down here as well. I prefer him to go permanently. I don't want to see him go out on loan again, because that's going to do nothing. He's just going to be gone for a season. We're going to have the problem again next season. Just get rid of him, man. Just get rid of him. He's also saying here, I called the Xerxes so many saying he wasn't good enough. Bollocks, I told the English fan bases. Well, I don't believe I ever said anything bad about Xerxes, to be fair. I just said I didn't really know a lot about Xerxes at the time. So I just kept myself to myself, to be fair. Yes, there is such a thing as Ten Hag ball. Watch Man United play. You will see it every now and again, probably once every 25 minutes in the game. You'll see it. Yes, we have. Really, what it is most really is we're sat next to each other. Literally sat next to each other. I could do, yeah, stop. He's nearly poked me in the eye. So, and Keeler's saying Xerxes an 85 on FIFA, lads. Not on my closed beta, is not. I don't know what he is on my closed beta. I didn't even sign him because I signed Julian Alvarez on my manager mode on my closed beta because I got him for 25 million. Bargain.
Actually, can I ask you, speaking of signings, Colm, before you talk about Brighton, and this is a general football question, out of all the clubs and their transfer windows this summer, whose business has impressed you the most?
You know what? To say they didn't get off to a great start, West Ham. I think West Ham have made some cracking signings this season. I did a show with Dermo where we predicted where people were going to finish, and I actually predicted West Ham to finish 6th. That's where I think they'll finish because the signings that they've got, as soon as they click, I think they'll be a very, very good team. To be fair, which club's taking your fancy? And don't say Spurs because they've only signed like 3 players.
Actually, and again,
sorry.
They had a slow start to their transfer window, but it's a club that has come up and a club that is being managed by a former Manchester United coach.
Ipswich.
Ipswich have done some decent signings over the last week and a half or so, and I'm kind of looking at the clubs that I would have thought would have been slightly above them in the relegation tranches, and I definitely think that Ipswich are probably the strongest of the promoted sides.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of going, they really could survive with the business that they're doing. And they didn't look out of place in the league the last time.
No, I mean, they gave Liverpool a proper run for their money, obviously, over the weekend. And I know they've just signed Brozier today as well, haven't they? I mean,
yeah,
that's a big name for a club like Ipswich. I mean, Brozier is a very, very good player. You know, it's just unfortunate that he wasn't going to get game time, so he's had to leave. But Brozier is a good player. I think Ipswich will stay up. Personally, I think Ipswich have got enough to stay up, especially with the signings, like you said, that they've got.
Fulham have done great business actually as well. They brought in Anderson today.
I mean, yeah, they have, and they're still looking at Scott McTominay as well. I mean, I think Scotty would be perfect there. I do. I think I think Fulham's the right place for a player like Scott McTominay. I really, really do. So hurry up, Fulham. Give us the money. Take him. I don't want him anymore. Just take him. Moss is obviously saying lots of Arsenal fans, to be honest. Colm were saying Xerxes not good enough, but I was like, you didn't watch Bologna. Well, yeah, I didn't watch it. In Bologna at all. I'm not going to lie there. So this transfers over to my next question. I know we are going to wrap things up shortly. So I've got this one and then one more topic we're going to quickly discuss. Obviously, the title of the show is More Still Needed. So more is still needed. And then in regards to that, I've looked at a broad perspective. So we do need some more signings still. There is a couple of positions where we do need some more quality, let's say. And obviously the performance output is another way I've looked at this. So I'm going to split it into 2 for you. You can answer it either way. Do you think we're going to get any more in? If so, who? Or who would you like us to bring in? And then the performance outlook of things. What can we do to make sure that when we play games like Fulham, and these other teams like that, because no disrespect to them, they're not the Man Cities, they're not the Liverpools, they're not the Arsenals. We should be beating teams like Fulham. What do we need to do to make sure our performance isn't like last year and we don't get turned over in these games?
Okay, in terms of players that we'll get in, I think there's one definitely on the cards. I think the Uruguayan centre midfielder will be a Manchester United player prior to the Liverpool game. Would I be surprised if we bring in a left back on a 1-year rental? And when I say 1-year rental, I mean he's a free agent. We sign him to a 12-month contract, and we kind of use him as a buffer while we develop Harry Amos, as you mentioned earlier on, and get his development going. That wouldn't surprise me because I think it would probably be astute business to kind of provide a buffer, especially if we can't depend on Malacia to take a chunk of games this season, because Shaw will be missing at some point again once we get him back fit. In terms of making sure that we don't have the same situations that we did last year where the Fulhams of this world were getting 20 and 30 chances against us, I'm going to go back to a statement that was made by Ralph Rangnick that Manchester United Football Club needed open heart surgery. So far, we signed 4. Ugarte would make number 5. If you say Amas and the young fella in midfield come through, that aside, we probably still need another 3 to 4 players. Left wing, right wing, centre, that could rotate with who we would consider our number 1 options, our Highlands, our Xerxes, our Garnachos. We need tangible backups to those. And I think at the moment, there probably is a bit of a weakness, because if you look at the bench the last day, it was Scott McTominay, Johnny Evans, Xerxes, but there wasn't a whole pile on that bench where you were going, oh, they're really going to come on and turn the game. Xerxes was probably the obvious one, but after that, then you're kind of going, well, McTominay, while he does score the odd goal, isn't known really for changing the offensive fortunes of a team. Maguire and Evans, Dalglish and Evans were defensive players, so they're not going to change offensive fortunes for you. They might steady the ship at the back and settle you down, but they're not going to change that offensive look. So when I look at a player that you can come off the bench and kill a game, even when you bring back all the players that are injured, there's still maybe 1 or 2 more players that we need on the bench that could come on when your opposition wing backs, your opposition centre backs are absolutely knackered from dealing with your starting players and can turn that game on its head. So I think where Manchester United will be able to need to look at to stop what happened last year is we need to strengthen the squad. And the one good thing that I do like about our business, and again, Casemiro, don't get me wrong, he was out of this world his first season. He literally did what he said he was going to do. He fixed our centre midfield. But the day that we spend 90 and 100 million for players that might last 2-3 seasons, that had to end. We had to have players that, play De Ligt now. If he does 4 or 5 seasons for Manchester United Football Club, at that stage, he's still only 30. You could probably sell him back to Ajax for 15, 20 million at that point.
Yeah. No, I mean, I understand where you're coming from. Again, we are very in sync when it comes to Manchester United, because we both have a very similar outlook on things like this. I don't think either one of us have given up on Luke Shaw. I would give nothing more for Luke Shaw to stay fit for a whole season, because I think when he's playing, Luke Shaw changes the whole Manchester United team. He's absolutely fantastic. He has been for many, many years now for Manchester United. It's just he gets injured so often that we need something. And even our backup is injured. It's becoming a very big concern how weak we are at left back. I really do hope, I know we're probably not going to, but I hope we get another left back in, just so we can have our centre backs play centre back and we can rotate whoever this is and Amas. Rotate them until Shaw's back, and then we can rotate the three. And then once I think Malassi is done. I think his career is done at United, to be fair. I don't think he's coming back at all. But we are going to move to the last topic, and it's not going to be a long one because I can keep an eye on the time as well. Obviously, our next game is against a very, very dangerous-looking Brighton, who won 3-0 at the weekend. How concerned are you about this game?
Well, I'm hoping that we line up in a kind of position where Zirkzee starts. Let's call a spade, because I think we need, whether he's the out-and-out striker or not, we need that type of player leading the line. Because at least he might cause Bruno to do an overlap or something that might create a bit more threat. Now, Brighton have had their fair share of issues in the transfer window in that they've lost players, but I don't think they brought back Fatty. They had him on loan last season. He's currently surplus to requirements at Barcelona. So when you look at Brighton, I'm trying to even remember, did they sign anyone this window? Because I don't remember any kind of keynote. Right, but the thing with Brighton is they're efficient, they're structured, they're organised, and you're going to need to be fully aware and awake for the full 90 minutes, because all they're doing is they're playing their game and they're waiting for you to make the mistake so they can launch a siege on you.
Yeah, but Brighton are looking like a very, very good side. I mean, when you look at some of the players, obviously everybody focuses on Mitoma because he is a danger player for them. Let's not get it wrong, he is. And Sensio, again, he's another one. Minter, João Pedro. They've got many. James Milner, who's been and done absolutely everything in football. I don't even know how he's still playing football. I'm not going to lie. But they've got Simon Adingra, and a player that I actually really like, and I'm keeping an eye on his career because I actually do like him quite a bit, is Buonanotte, the young midfielder that they have. I think he's going to become a very, very good player. But last thing, this is going to be the last thing. It's not going to be anything massively. And then we're going to wrap things up this week and we'll come back.
Sorry, just
there
quickly, you go. I just brought up what the Brighton team kind of semi looks like. Let me just see if I can zoom in a bit. But that forward line, that João Pedro seems to be doing the Zirkzee role now from, doesn't he?
Yeah,
behind Welbeck.
I mean, I'm not too. The lone striker doesn't worry me too much, to be fair. Welbeck, we've seen what Welbeck does. I'm not massively concerned about Danny Welbeck. It's the three behind Danny Welbeck that causes me a little bit of, squeaky bum time, because every single one of those players are very good, very quick players as well.
Is that not former Manchester United youth goalkeeper Luke Steele?
Is it Luke Steele? I thought it was Jason.
Hang on. Oh, it's Jason. Never mind.
Yeah, Jason Steele.
But
I thought it was Jason. All right.
Let me just take that down again.
So last thing I'm going to get on this one, and then we will wrap it up, obviously, because we're not going to be back now until next week. Score prediction for the Brighton game.
Obviously, get those in the chat as well. And while I think of it, I still have 2 items to give away to viewers at some point. I'll discuss with Colin how we're going to do that, because I don't think they met the conditions last season, so they're still available. There's a Mason Mount last season's home jersey, and I've got a Wraith, not exactly hoodie, but jumpery type thing, probably more suitable for somebody that's a bit smaller than me or a female, because it is quite snug. But I do have those to give away at some point, but I'll figure out with the station master how to do that at some point. But
we're on 17 subscribers, at the moment, and I think I said 20.
Yeah.
If we get 20, we'll do the giveaway, and I'll throw in a bonus, which I will tell everybody what the bonus is now, because I weren't going to do it until we hit 20, but I'll tell people now. What we'll do is, obviously, you've got a chance to get this Manchester United shirt off of him, or a Rafe hoodie. I will also throw in a tub or 2 tubs of any flavour Rafe that you wish. I will pay for out of my own pocket, and we'll get it sent to you.
In terms of the score prediction, though, Colm, we're away. So I'm thinking Brighton and Hove Albion 1, Manchester United 2. Xerxes back on the score sheet.
Interesting. Make sure you get your score predictions in the chat as well. I am going to go with a 3-2 win to Manchester United.
Actually, I've got how I'm going to give away the Mount jersey. When Manchester United play Manchester City.
Oh, God.
I'm going to have basically 2-minute slots of when the first... Actually, no, make it 5-minute slots of when the first goal occurs. And the person, or one of the persons that guesses the correct slot or closest to the correct slot will win the Mason Mount Manchester United home jersey from last season.
Yes, there you go. A bit of incentive. So make sure you come over to MUFC Spotlight on YouTube. Anybody that is over on Twitter, or over on the Full Time Sports Network or the European Football Network, make sure you come over here, give us a subscribe, get us up to that 20, and obviously all these little giveaways will be active, and we will pick somebody out at random. Obviously we'll get this Mason Mount shirt thing sorted for the people as well. Rebel, thank you so much for coming on, mate. Please let everybody know all your social media stuff and where everybody can find you, buddy.
Well, my only social media at this point, I think, is am I at Rebel? I must check it. I don't even know what my Twitter handle is at the moment. I haven't been used yet, but essentially you'll find me here or on Double Dumb Gaming for the gaming content.
Eventually.
At some point.
Eventually. I tell you, that thing at the minute is the bane of my life. For anybody that doesn't know, I've been trying to sort out a gaming session for the last week, 2 weeks, and it is becoming next to impossible to sort out this one session. We look like we've got something sorted, so fingers crossed. You can find me obviously here as well, at the home of Manchester United. You can find me on the Full Time Sports Network, the European Football Network. God, I'm on so many channels nowadays. I'm not on that as much, though. You'll find me from time to time on THFC Till I Die, which is Dermo's channel, and obviously Double Dumb Gaming as well. If you want to come and berate me on Twitter, please do. It's FTSN Colm. Come and tell me how wonderfully stupid I am and I know nothing about football.
Kerry_Rebel.
There you go. Kerry_Rebel. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Please make sure to like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment. And we will get to the comments when we can. And it's been fantastic having everybody here today. Finally, the football season is back. Manchester United have got the first 3 points. On to the weekend, where we're going to get another 3 points. Glory, glory, Man United.
United.
Never stop, never shut from the top. We're gonna be